Mr. Genuis, please, for 5.
Well, thank you, Chair. I too want to share my congratulations to the new President of Mexico. I'm sure the Prime Minister of Canada looks forward to showing off his socks at the next Three Amigos Summit. I wanted to ask about companies operating on the GC Strategies model. We've talked a lot about ArriveCan specifically, but we have also been able to identify that there seem to be many companies operating on essentially the same model. That is, very small companies, 1, 2, 3 individuals operating out of a residential address, and their business is getting government contracts. That's it. That's what they do. They get government contracts and subcontract. Is it the view of the Government of Canada that we should not be contracting to companies that are using the GC Strategies model, that instead we should be going more directly to the companies who do the actual work, or are you comfortable with this model continuing to be a big part of government procurement?
Thank you very much for the question. I think it's fair to say that it's been consistently asked of me for several appearances. And this IT staff augmentation, it doesn't have to be IT, but the staff augmentation model is used by every country, jurisdictions in Canada, and private sector. So it's a well-known model. In terms of the efficiency it provides to the Government of Canada, going directly to consultants may not be the most efficient way. That being said, I think the member actually asked this question to me several months ago, and I did start to look at whether or not we would have the capacity and what capacity we would need if we wanted to go right to individual suppliers. So staff augmentation is a legitimate type of business that we do, and we haven't to date looked at the size, understanding that is one of the key elements you bring the small SME. We haven't used that as a rate limiting factor for competing.
Yeah, thank you. Can I just ask though, I mean, why is this staff augmentation or GC Strategies model necessary? It would seem to me that it shouldn't be that difficult to have a kind of a detailed database or inventory in government about the specific skills that exist out there. And it seems that this model is actually used to get around a perceived excessive complexity of procurement. That this model is used because somebody has an existing standing offer or an existing relationship with government. So it's actually a vehicle for getting around red tape, not a necessary part of the system. Why couldn't the government have internally the people who have an expertise on finding the appropriate outside consultants maintain a detailed database of that information? Why would that not be possible?
Thank you very much for the question. I think that there are 3 key points here, which is government HR staffing, making sure we have the right skill sets to do what you propose. 2 is the actual procurement. What is it that we're trying to bring in? What services we're trying to bring in? And 3rd is that project management piece. When I listen to the member, I think a lot about project management. We're trying to deliver a service to Canadians. We're going to need to bring in some temporary staff augmentation, be it IT, be it project management, be it pay. And traditionally, staff augmentation firms have been the most efficient way to bring all that together.
All right. Okay, I've asked this question a few times because I'm still sort of perplexed in general by the government's approach to this. It would seem that project management capacity in particular is something that there should be a significant amount of skill within the government. I do want to try to get one or a couple more questions in though. So it seems that when I look at the documents we received on Indigenous procurement, that there are a couple companies that are getting an enormous amount of the contracts, Ottawa-based, in some cases, very, very small firms. How much do you think is too much? Like if 5% of the set aside is for, if there's a 5% set aside for Indigenous companies, and we're finding that a very small number of companies are getting a lot of those deals, are getting 3, 5, 7% of all of the contracts. Would that suggest a problem? And what percentage do you think would be too much of that overall share?
So short answer, please.
Thank you very much. Again, I heard the question asked and I started to think about it. We don't offer a cap on any company that competes for government business. So there's no similar approach in non-Indigenous firms, so I would not understand why it would be there for Indigenous firms. There's 50,000 Indigenous firms in Canada. Whether or not they're registered on the Indigenous procurement business list is for them to decide. Like, we try to encourage them to get that number up so we have more of a competitive bassin pool.